Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to see me due to
That's
the
okay.
fact that I'm not very good looking. No, you can't see me because my camera is being used for the Twitch show.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
so and there are a few people in chat already, so they'll let us know how the audio levels are and whatnot. First of all, thanks for joining us tonight.
Of
Um,
course.
it's an award-winning journalist here
Oh,
tonight,
stop. Stop.
right? I mean, phenomenal stuff.
No.
Audio's good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Performance of my check. Check testing 1 2. Check testing 1 2. How's that sounding? Good.
Sounds. They're saying it sounds good in chat. It's live in my headphones.
Cool.
So since I'm at a bar, I have to run around the bar for 1 second. But
That's fine. Pour
just
yourself a drink.
yeah. I don't worry.
Cheers.
I've. Oh, sweet. You're having one too. Cheers to you.
Mm-hmm.
I have three daughters, and
Mazel tov.
yeah, Mazel Tov. I need to have this bar down here, right? Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
All right, enough of that. I'm running around. One of these days, I'll figure everything out. One of these days, I'll just figure everything out. You know. So how you feeling, Joe? You've had the flu.
God, it's the worst. I got this horrible cough that won't go away, but other than that, I think I'm back. But it's been just like the week. I've never been more sick in my life
It
than
was
this week.
when we were setting up this interview. I told you, man, I had it too on my birthday week, the week before Christmas, and I was wiped out. And my family threw me a surprise birthday party. Didn't even know about it. I was so out of it.
Aw.
Yeah, it was. And, like my kids were like cleaning things around the house, and I'm trying to figure out, what the hell is going on. It didn't occur to me until after that they were planning something, but I was just extremely sick.
Mm, of
But so I appreciate the fact that you're here. You have a cough,
course.
and you're coming down from the flu.
I know, but we'll make it through. I
We
will
will.
persevere. Hold on, I gotta get some. My
Oh yeah.
cat's eating tape.
Oh,
Hold on. What are you
so
doing, Ron? Come here. That.
uh,
No.
it's these are what makes this show great right here. You should just bring the cat on.
I don't know how she got tape, but there you go.
What type of tape? Like Scotch
Like,
tape?
yeah,
Masking
like
tape?
Scotch tape. I don't know. That's weird.
You're a big cat lover, right? Big cat owner.
I do. Yes, I'm a proficient cat dad. I've got
Cat.
three.
Oh, do you? I have. We have three ourselves. Two are really old, like 15 years old,
Oh wow.
and yeah, really old. And then one that we have is we don't really know how old yet. We rescued it. We went away on vacation, and we found this cat in the parking lot where we were on vacation. And my girls are 10 and 7 and 3, and
Oh
I
wow.
couldn't leave that cat in the parking lot.
No, no.
So I came home. I brought the cat home. So I have three cats in my house. The two older ones are fine. The really older one is pissed off because I brought a new cat in the house,
Right.
and it's just like, what am I gonna do?
Have three cats. That's what you're gonna
Yeah,
do.
I know. And now, and so where we live, there's this cat that keeps coming to our back deck, and it's just like staring at the back deck window, looking at the other cats in the house, just looking. My daughters are like, "Let's let it in. Let's feed it. It's homeless." I'm like, "Look at that cat. That cat's fat and furry. Is living with someone." And
Mhm.
sure enough, it's just sitting on the back deck. I know that cat's gonna end up in my house. I know it.
Yeah, but they could just hang out there. I mean, I've got plenty of outdoor cats that we feed. There's a little cat colony at the where I live at, and they all come to my porch, and we give them little treats, and the leftover stuff, becomes food for possums and raccoons. But it's a whole menagerie. It's like Noah's Ark out here now.
No, Joe's ark.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Um, but we joked around early on about you being an award-winning journalist. Now you're. We'll get to the wrestling aspect soon, and you're not just a cat dad. But
Hmm.
when I was doing a little bit of research on you, you're like a news guy. Like you're a legit news guy. Like
That's right.
that is your
Hmm.
background, I would say. Like where
That
you
explains the scotch, right? Scotch,
yeah.
scotch, scotch. Here it goes down into my belly.
That's how you cure the flu, is what I heard as well.
It's helping right now. I feel significantly better. I don't know why. Tamiflu and Scotch. Who knew that? That's the right cocktail.
That's what they told me.
Um, but yeah, I've been a professional journalist for almost a decade now. I got a degree in broadcast journalism from California State University Northridge in Los Angeles, and it was kind of by accident. I was actually going to school to get a degree in screenwriting, and the program that they had at CSUN was very intensive, and I was also working full time, so I had to just switch majors in order to try to graduate. And so then I just switched it to journalism because it was in the same building. And I was wrestling at the time, so I had a really goofy demo reel where I took a big Death Valley driver right off the top of it from Brawl and Bo Cooper. And it just so happened that there was a consultant that reached out to some of the professors at Cal State Northridge, and he said that he was working with this station in Toledo, Ohio, that was looking for a funny, out of the box reporter to go do goofy remotes in the morning. And so I just kind of sent him my demo reel, and that was my first gig. So it just kind of happenstance worked out. Like, I made this demo reel like as a joke. Like, I never thought I would actually get a job somewhere. And then I was one of the first people. I had the job before I graduated, and like I had to pack up afterwards and take off and go. So it was pretty dope. It's pretty dope.
Yeah. A journalist question here, or actually a reporter question. I guess it could be wrestling as well. Did you get a lot of hecklers?
As a journalist?
Yeah. Did you get
I've had it. I've had my share.
Did you get anyone from the Stern Show come by, say Baba Booey?
I have had that. I've had worse than that. One of the things, NWA Power's been a good job of I think burying this when you Google my name now.
Oh,
but
yeah, we can keep it buried.
No. It's fine. It's my greatest moment in all of television. You may remember a few years ago the big thing that people were yelling at reporters instead of Baba Booey. They had upgraded it to F her in the P.
Oh yeah.
And so it was
very intelligent stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff. Baba Booey's fine. Howard Stern's penis, whatever. Yeah. But F her in the P. Especially, I feel really bad for a lot of my female coworkers and stuff that had to deal with all that stuff, because it's like, come on, dude. Like, why? You've got some, especially in these small markets, these women, they're not making anything. Sometimes they're working by themselves, and it's a dangerous situation enough as it is, and you got to go and try to pull that kind of crap, and it sucks. But anyway, so I'm working, and it is Black Friday, and I'm at the mall in Palm Desert, California. It's just a generic, hey, we're here, it's Black Friday, people are shopping, blah, blah, blah story. Yeah. And a kid runs up and screams F her in the P in the microphone. And my response was, that's what I did to your mother last night, buddy.
That shut him right up.
It did. Well, he was running away at that time already. And as soon as it left my mouth, I thought, well, there goes my job. I just lost my job. But actually, they didn't fire me, and it got an enormous amount of viral success. It got picked up on like World Star Hip Hop and a bunch of other news agencies. The next week wanted to interview me about it, because all these reporters in all these major markets were having this problem. Yeah. It was a plague. And so I was the only one that came up with a retort like that, because usually people they'll either say nothing, or the knee jerk is immediately apologize for the language. And I did it after the package ran. Yeah. But it is what it is. And but I think what was great about that is I got a pretty good social media following after that, of just people. I got like 1,000 Twitter followers in a week or something like that. And it got played on a bunch of late night shows and stuff like that. And Shaquille O'Neal has a podcast, a big podcast with Shaq. And they played it on his show, and someone told me about it. So the next show I called in, and so Shaquille O'Neal interviews me. And, at the time, I'm like a 20-year-old kid who grew up with three-peat Lakers. And here I am getting interviewed by Shaq. And then a few months later, they did it was probably just a couple weeks later, because it was the end of the year awards for Shaq's show. and I won the award as Shaquille O'Neal's Person of the Year for 2015, I think it is. So forget Miami, forget Edward R.
Right.
Murrow's, forget
I know.
SBJ. I'm Shaquille O'Neal's Person of the Year.
Person of the
I don't
year.
think I unless I beat Nick Aldis, I'll never have a better title
Well, that's if Nick
ever.
Aldis gets in the ring with you. I mean,
That's true. He might be afraid.
I think though that he could be. I think that retort though shows a lot of who you are as a person and even how you are now on NWA Power, which we'll get to, because it showed improvisation. It was witty. I mean,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? It was a great
Right.
comeback. It was just right off the. You didn't even
Right.
think twice. Um, that's what I took from it. But
Well, yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people took from it too. And I'm thankful that I've got some decent improv skills, and I feel like I never took an improv class, but I did a lot of theater, and a lot of my close friends, a lot of what we were doing, I came to learn afterwards, like throughout high school, was basically just improv exercises as we were just hanging around, screwing around, and so it's just something that's been a part of what I've been able to do, and it's just a good part of the arsenal that's good to come out. And I honestly, it probably has got me to a lot of good places, especially like right here on NWA Power.
that's right, 605
6:05 Tuesdays on YouTube.
on YouTube.
Subscribe. That's the best way to do it. Subscribe to everything. You subscribe to the YouTube channel and make sure the little bell goes off to remind you. Our newsletter is fantastic, and it's very simple. We do not send a bunch of stuff your way. You'll probably get one email every 2 weeks,
Yep, I signed up.
but
I've
you'll get.
gotten like one, maybe two emails. I think so far. That's
Yeah,
it.
so we don't bury you in a whole bunch of stuff with like ads and coupon codes or anything like that. We just tell you this is what's happening, and you're the first to know, and you're able to either buy something ahead of time for a reduced price, or we're just keeping people in the know with it. So I tell everybody it's free, it's easy, and it's not something that you're going to need to worry about us, filling up your inbox.
No, you just go right to nationalwrestlingalliance.com, right? Right at the bottom.
That's
Holy
right.
shit.
That's where you can go there, and you can always get all kinds of good swag too for
Look
your
at that.
folks that are watching this. I got the hat on. Boy, as soon as I put this hat on, I lose like 5 years. I feel like I turn.
Dude,
I look like a little kid.
you look like Tom
Really.
Hanks's kid.
I think because the bill's not it's still flat, and I just look like a little kid who
Well,
just
that's how
got
the
this
kids
small
wear
part.
it flat these days.
That's maybe I need to wear it like this
Yeah,
then to
there
the
you
side.
go.
A little
It's
bit
funny.
like
It's
that.
like we're a walking ad tonight because I just ordered the hoodie on Monday, and I
Oh, the
got
hoodie's fantastic.
I know the zip up, and I know the zip up, the thin one.
Oh, the zip up one too. I like that too. The thin one's actually really nice. It's great if you want to do like a jog outside and it's a little nippy out.
Yeah,
It's fun.
I got home. It was in the mail. I was like, this is perfect. It's
It's
great.
really
It's
nice.
a good time.
All of our swag's real great. And it is a good gauge as to who really are the super um, uh, who's really drawn the crowd. Because
Right.
boy, we cannot hold on to those karate T-shirts. Those question mark T-shirts fly off the shelves, and Mama Storm too. I think right now those, other than anything that's just kind of a generic
Yeah, yeah.
NWA brand, like for character specific stuff, those are our big sellers, and it just shows how big of a mass appeal they have as faces.
Exactly. Now let's jump into the wrestling. Now, something you said earlier that I didn't even know, and I don't know how I didn't know this. You said you were working as a wrestler?
Yeah, it's something I don't really advertise a
Right.
lot because I feel like it doesn't help with the storyline
No.
with a lot of stuff. You want to have a play-by-play, straight down the line guy, and I want Stu to be that color guy with the experience.
Yep.
And obviously, the 200 matches I have under my belt doesn't even come close to what he's had in a career, so it
Right.
doesn't really equate well to talk about it. But I was one of those crappy indie wrestlers that, Jim Cornette would make fun of.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you saw me wrestling when I was 21 years old, he would have hated my character. I was basically just a worse version of Joey Ryan's gimmick as like an underwear model.
He
I
definitely
had
would
no
not.
muscle definition. Oh no, I had no muscle definition. It was all shtick and gimmick. It was all gaga shit, and it was fun and it's memorable. And the folks that when I travel back to Hollywood and whatnot, and I run into people at, like, let's say Championship Wrestling from Hollywood that may have gone to some of these shows that I did at, bars in Chatsworth, California, or Van Nuys, or the City of Industry, and all these little pockets of wrestling all around the LA area. They remember the character because it was so over the top and gross and very sexual. So I started while I was in college at Cal State Northridge. My good friend Brandon Taylor, who wrestles as Robert Baines and is currently a member of the office at the New Japan LA dojo. He found an ad in the paper, so it's really dating myself right there. He found an ad in the paper, and it was a 2-for-1 coupon for a wrestling school. And he's like, "You want to go?" And I was like, "It's free. Why not?" And I was never athletic at all. I mean, I didn't do any high school sports or anything like that. I was all theater, tech, school newspaper nerd sort of stuff. And I went there and I was immediately hooked. I was a fan, obviously.
You must have been a fan of wrestling.
Oh yeah, I was a fan. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't as dedicated as fan as my friends, Brandon and Mark. And Mark now, he works in the operations department for NXT and does a lot of the backstage shoots and a lot of that sort of stuff with them. But I went to there and I just kind of fell in love with the art form of professional wrestling. And I started training with Ryan Katz, who now is Mark's boss over at NXT. Another one of our trainers was Jesus Rodriguez, who you would probably know better as Ricardo Rodriguez, Alberto Del Rio's guy. And Bronwyn Bill Cooper, Dan Magnus, and then we had a bunch of other guys who kind of came through, Disco Machine and a bunch of other guys. We did a lot of stuff with the Santino's brothers, which is a very popular professional wrestling school out of Bell Gardens. We kind of had a feud with them that was kind of fun, and we even did shows where it was like school versus school, and it was sort of like very Karate Kid, because we had we were part of this very large gym that was a powerlifting gym. And we had all the scare footage, so we were like, the rich kids with all the other stuff, and they were coming from, the mechanic shop that also just happened to have a wrestling ring in it. And so, but it was fun. Those are good times. And, I did it a little bit while I was also getting my foot into the broadcast world, and I was working as a reporter out of Ohio and Pennsylvania, and I did some wrestling over there, but very limited, probably less than 20 matches or something, and all little tiny flea market stuff that, nobody probably remembers me from doing that sort of stuff. I can't even find any video of it from back then. And honestly, I probably don't want to see it because it's probably not very good. But yeah, so I was a worker for that amount of time, and what changed is I went and I got a job as a reporter at KESQ, which is the ABC station in Palm Springs. And so I came back to Southern California, and my friend Brandon Taylor, again, who was the Hollywood Heritage champion at the time, was working with David Marquez at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Oh,
and
gorgeous David
Yeah,
Marquez.
yes. And this just happened. Everything just, a lot of my life is just good timing. And when I came back, just happened to be the same time that Todd Kennelly, who was doing commentary for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, he was moving on to go work at Impact, or maybe it was called TNA at the time, but whatever. So he's going to go sit next to Tony Schiavone. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I went there and I watched the first show I watched was the Red Carpet Rumble, which is their version of the Royal Rumble. And I did a couple backstage interviews. And TK did his last broadcast, and then the next taping, I was their main guy. So I called just like that. And because I think Marquez really liked me from my broadcast background, because that's where he comes from. And he comes from news, and he's in, his Emmys come from that side. And I had an Emmy, or actually I didn't at the time. I still hadn't won one at that point. He was very proud when I did win one, because then we took pictures with both of ours together, and it was very silly. But so I was there, and I sat next to Johnny LaQuasto, or now as he's known in WWE as John Quasto, and he did 205 Live. He did an episode of that on commentary, and he does a lot of their house shows their NXT house shows. So when you see like, NXT Portsmouth and all these other small little towns on the East Coast, or sometimes they do a West Coast tour, he's the one that's there, and he'll call the guys out and warm up the crowd and all that kind of stuff. So, I've been so lucky to be surrounded by so many people who have made it so far in this business. And I mean, I think if you would have told, 12-year-old Joe Galli who's watching, Mankind fight Kane, and you would have just whispered in my ear, as an adult, you're going to be the voice of the National Wrestling Alliance, and all your friends are going to be working for basically all the major professional wrestling organizations out there. I've been like, what are you talking about? I'm hanging drywall with my dad as a teenager, and I'll probably be doing that for the rest of my life. So it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah, and play-by-play for the resurgence of the great NWA. So,
yeah, I think actually 12-year-old me would have been like, NW what? You mean the rap group?
Yeah, exactly.
The rap group?
I'm not going to talk for them. Anyways, so, all right, so I could see where everything was going. You got your broadcast, you have your improv, your stuff, you did a lot of theater. You could see how your character or the way you carry yourself, I guess, now on NWA Power. How did how do I want to phrase this? Is it Billy Corgan or William?
I think we all call him Billy, which because there's a lot of Billies, unfortunately. Actually, we probably say Corgan more than anything else in the back. I think he likes to go from a professional standpoint in wrestling as William Patrick Corgan. And I think what he's trying to do is separate rock star from businessman. Well, and so that's why when it says, they do the credits, it's William Patrick Corgan,
It's funny that you say that, because I was getting some songs ready for the intro of the show when I started on. I wanted to play Dawkins Into the Fire. My kids love it, first of all. And then I wanted to play that Hard Times song because the pay-per-view's coming up on the 24th. Mm-hmm. I wanted to play that. So I type in Hard Times by Billy Corgan, and it's not there. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it's underneath William Patrick Corgan inspired.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I'm like, that is interesting. But maybe he wants to. Who knows? We're talking.
He's such. He is a rock star. You have to keep in mind he is a rock star. He dresses like one. He acts like one. And I mean, he makes it very clear he's a celebrity, and sometimes that comes with some eccentricities. And if it means he's going to have a couple different names, he's going to have a couple different names for whatever it is and whatever he's feeling like at the time, I guess.
So how does he come to you and say, "Hey, Joe, I want you to"? How does that come about? How does he say, "Go ahead"?
Well,
yeah,
sorry.
That's all right.
So the way it worked was, if you go all the way back to the 10 Pounds of Gold series, right, those first episodes with Tim Storm were at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. He was being featured there. And that's where we met. I met Billy Corgan and David Lagana. And it was those first couple of tapings where I called the action, and I believe he actually wrestled Zicky Dice. That just shows how full circle everything really comes. Right. They pulled me to the side and they said, "Hey, we're starting this thing. We don't know where it's going, but we want to take it far, and we want you to be the voice of the National Wrestling Alliance." And that was, at this point, years ago. And I said, "Okay, sign me up." And I was like, all right. And so they kind of kept their word. And for a long time, they'd come in and I'd do, my thing in Hollywood. And, Nick Aldis would, win the title, and he'd go and he worked at, a dozen other, 20 other promotions in 40 days or something like that during his Aldis crusade. But at the end of the day, they gave me a call back, and they're like, we want you to be our guy. And I was super flattered. And it just kind of went from there. And then I think the next show, I'm getting a cameo from my cat. Here, let me introduce everybody to Ron. Here's Ron, everybody.
Oh, hey, Ron.
Ron is actually short for Megatron.
Megatron, nice.
Yeah, she lives up to that name very much so.
The one that was in the tape earlier?
Yes, it was. She's rambunctious. She's still a kitten. She's under a year. She just had her first Christmas. Isn't that right, baby? Oh, there's your little face. All right. So they said they wanted me to be the voice of the National Wrestling Alliance. And you know, at the time, I didn't know really what that was going to mean. If it meant, you know, we were going to do some pay-per-view shows, or it was going to be, you know, something that was going to come out of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Because Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, from when it first started, years before I got there, was the National Wrestling Alliance. The NWA logo was all over it. And that's part of, you know, David Marquez being intertwined with that brand. And and then we did the Crockett Cup, and then we did the 70th anniversary show. All right, strike that, reverse it. We did the 70th anniversary show, then we did the Crockett Cup, and then it's like, well, we're doing Power, and you're our guy. And I was like, okay, here we go. And so it's like, okay. And then, you know, I just stepped in, and I think that they liked my voice for some reason, which I don't know. I hate my voice. I don't know, it's one of those things. Like I listen to the sound of my voice all the time, you know, because I go and do news stories and I have to hear. Yeah, I have to. And it's like, why would anybody want to hear this voice?
I think it's the way, not only your voice, but I think it's the way you carry yourself. You probably heard this before. The way you carry yourself, and you seem like a throwback. You're like straight laced, but you're very subtle with your responses. It's almost like a verbal slap sometimes. When you were doing those things with Aldis, it was like.
And thank you. And I worked very hard at that. And I think that what they really wanted was, you know, there's so many different guys you can emulate.
Yeah.
And they're all fantastic. But I think what they really wanted was more of a Gordon Soley.
Yeah.
And that was the note that Dave Marquez gave me earlier on when I first started working at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Because it's like, you know, I grew up, you know, Taz and Jim Ross. And it's like, you can only be Taz and Jim Ross if you're Taz or Jim Ross. You can't pretend to be that. You can't. It's just that's not how it's going to work. So, but he made it very clear, like, watch tapes of Gordon Soley, which even to be honest, at the time, I probably hadn't seen very many, if it, you know, at all. And then you just go on YouTube or you go on the WWE network, find stuff, and you're like, well, that's what he wants, and so that's what you're gonna get. And so
sounds just like him.
And then you just try to pick up that cadence, and it fits. It fits. We want to have this show out of Georgia, and I'm happy to be in the position that I'm in. Believe me, I'm ecstatic. I'm super excited for what we have in the future, and it's still kind of a dream that I get paid to go to Georgia and put together this really cool, very different wrestling show.
That's right, and it's just starting. There's been the 10 pounds of gold. There's been all the build up. There's been the Crockett Cup, the 70 anniversary. But as far as Power's going right now in the pay-per-views that are coming up, it's just starting. Like
it's 13 episodes. It's only been 13 episodes.
I know.
You know, it's crazy. You know,
it's the passion, and it's so refreshing. It's just that's what I've grown to love about it, is how refreshing it is.
You know, I think that's a lot of people's sentiment with it, and I'm really glad that we were able to deliver something in the market that a lot of people haven't seen or miss seeing.
Right.
And there's so much good wrestling out there, and I'm a big fan of 99.9% of it. Yep. Even a lot of this weird, wacky stuff out there that we're never going to do. But I'll give you an example. Brian Kendrick's promotion, Wrestling Pro Wrestling, that they do shows out of Burbank. It's on Twitch. They'll have Bigfoot versus the Loch Ness Monster and these giant paper mache outfits, and they're fantastic because they're so wacky and it's so out of there.
It's so bad.
And so and you can enjoy that, and you can also enjoy Wrestle Kingdom. That's right. And see some of the best wrestling that you're ever going to see, and guys hitting and just knocking each other senseless. And then you can really appreciate, and then you can watch, the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania and all the great stuff that's happening out of NXT. I think NXT is probably one of my favorite parts of WWE right now. And I would much rather watch a takeover than whatever pay-per-view comes after the takeover right now. And so there's this great world of wrestling out there, and the fact that we got this specific niche, that this is so different and this is so interesting, and every week it's only an hour, or it's less than an hour, and it's free, and you can watch it whenever and wherever you want. It's really been this perfect storm that really has allowed us to succeed in the way that we have.
One of my favorite parts of the commercials, that we need to bring those commercials back.
Those commercials are fantastic. There's a very small group of people who put those together. And I won't name names because I don't think I'm supposed to, but
No, don't.
there are some very good talents that are putting those together. And, some people say it's kind of strange when we have the kids that are playing football and the concussion protocol sort of the plays. Well, there's a reason that that's playing there. It's because we're being, a responsible program, and you're supposed to have a certain amount that you give to charity and for things that we think are passionate about, which we do have a very strict concussion protocol with our stuff at the NWA. And I would not be surprised if in the coming weeks or coming months, and especially in the coming years, you'll start seeing more legitimate advertisements, but we'll always hold on to those very, very fun ones that you're going to see with Austin Idol or, the crowbars and waffles and whatnot. And they're all fantastic. And I think that now it's expected. If it was going to be a thing like, we'll try it and see how it goes. It's like, no. That people find them just as great as a lot of the matches and a lot of these great promos that we do. And so especially the most recent ones they had with the question mark. Oh, fantastic. And I mean, I think we just put a bunch of them up on NWA's YouTube page. So if you want to go check those out, they were uploaded either today or yesterday.
I think I actually, if I'm smart enough, I have a command for that. There we go. All right, that should post yeah, there it is, the YouTube link. The question mark. We'll get to him.
Sure.
I have questions about the question. But I want to, based on what I've heard about your views on wrestling and who you were as a wrestler, and just hearing you and seeing you, what, and we can glaze over this or not talk about it, but when you found out you were doing play-by-play with Cornette, how did that go over with you?
Well, I thought it was really cool, to be honest with you, because you have to keep in mind this is before NWA Power. We did the 2 pay-per-views before then, the 70th anniversary show and the Crockett Cup, which it was me, Ian Riccaboni of ROH, and Cornette. And to be honest with you, that particular pay-per-view, I feel like I was the third wheel because Ian's so good. And he's been doing it for so long, and he was really commanding it. And when I go back, I kind of wish I could have edged myself in a little bit more. But at the end of the day, if Tom Brady's on the field, there's only room for one quarterback. You know what I mean? So, and it's fine. But working with Jim Cornette, I mean, it's working with an encyclopedia of pro wrestling.
It's like Wikipedia of wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what popped up today? Some clip popped up from Georgia Championship Wrestling today, and it was just a promo with him. God, now I can't remember. It was about him not getting paid and the Midnight Express and all this other sort of stuff. And it's a 4-minute promo where he just never stops talking. And it's him in his prime as a manager, and he's got the tennis racket, and it's all good. Yeah. It's all good. And he never let that go. And
yes,
he's so good at what he does and being that character. Well, because that's what he is. I mean, even when you talk to him in the back or, you talk to him over the phone, he is that guy. And that's what makes him so good is it's legit. You can't fake being Jim Cornette. No. And so being able to sit next to him and learn from him and take notes from him, probably when he didn't think I was taking notes of things that he was saying, I mean, he's a really special guy. And, with what happened, and he had, forced to quit, and he made comments that a lot of people thought were very racist and that I don't believe he thought was racist. But at the same point, after the fact, things didn't happen the way that they should have happened, and he's gone. I would say that it wouldn't surprise me if he ever were to come back to the NWA, and it wouldn't surprise me if I'll cross paths with him down the road, sometime again. But there's a lot of people who hate Jim Cornette. Right. And I think that there's a lot of people who rightfully hate Jim Cornette because he said some horrible things about people. For instance, I don't know his exact opinions on Jim Cornette, but a very good friend of mine is the librarian Peter Avalon over on AEW. And I love Peter. The only wrestling shirt I have that is my wrestling shirt says Peter broke my heart, and it was based on a storyline where Peter did a heel turn at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Great.
That just shows you how much we're connected. I still have quite a few of those shirts that didn't sell well, but that shows how much I love Pete. And Jim Cornette has said some pretty terrible things about, Peter Avalon being the librarian in that gimmick, and I don't agree with them at all. And there's several other things that I don't particularly agree with him with, but there are a lot of other parts where he has some great ideas. And I think what's a shame is a lot of the people out there that sort of jumped on the bandwagon to get rid of Cornette, they really didn't realize what an asset he was in the back. And how much he contributed to a lot of the things that people really like about NWA Power, especially on those first few episodes, because, you have a format, we have an idea, but it's still not a finished diamond. It's all being worked out. And the meetings that we had in the back, Jim was instrumental for a lot of the things that people really liked about the show and that we've continued using on forward. So, but working with Jim, as controversial as a figure he is, that's the whole point of Jim Cornette. His whole existence is to be controversial. And so, I learned a lot from him, and I look forward to seeing him another day. And it wouldn't surprise me if I got to work with him again.
It wouldn't surprise me either. And I thought you handled that, explained that well. I'm in the same boat, I think, with you, with Cornette. His mind is phenomenal, and you either hate him, you love him. You're going to agree with things he says or not.
And isn't that what you want out of wrestling?
It's exactly what you want.
You want either the baby face or the heel.
Yeah.
And he plays both of those.
Yep.
And in the society, in the position that he's in, he's not able to really do that. And I think that makes things difficult for people who want to be a heel commentator. Yep. You have to walk there used to be a wider road that you could walk, and now it's a razor's edge, and he's always going to go over the edge. And so I tell you right now, I wouldn't want to be a heel commentator right now, because I'd be afraid. I would be afraid to say the wrong thing that would be interpreted wrong.
Because you'd be so into your character, like Cornette is so into his character that he may fall off of that razor edge line. I mean, Bobby Heenan could not be a heel announcer in this day and age.
Yeah, you wouldn't last long. And that's why you kind of really don't see it. I mean, I watched AEW. I can't. Which one of them's the heel commentator? I don't. Anyone's ours. I mean, kind of sometimes Corey Graves, depending on who's wrestling. Like it's nobody's really doing it right now, and I think that there's a reason for it.
Yeah, there is definitely. I forgot where I was going to go. I was going to Cornette, and then you said something that made me think of something else, and now I forgot. It'll come back to me, or it won't come back to me. Oh yeah. So that's what it was. So it's not like the NWA has shied away from controversial people. I mean, they just Big Papa Pump just debuted.
Oh yeah.
I mean, ain't nobody more dangerous with a live mic than him.
Oh boy, the next episode when he gets to cut that first promo at that podium with Dave Marquez. Oh boy, is it gonna be. So look forward to that on episode, I guess it'll be 13. Or no, 14, episode 14.
Yeah, 14.
Yeah, he's definitely the Papa Pump that you're used to seeing. You will see at NWA Power, and it's great. And I mean, I had some difficulty trying to keep it straight because when Papa Pump's got the microphone, that's my opportunity to like kind of put my feet up and relax for a few minutes.
Yeah, you better sit back.
It's like this is gonna be a while. And boy, I was like the Michael Jackson meme eating the popcorn. Like, it was funny. And I think I had to mute my mic a couple of times because I was like audibly laughing at some stuff that he was saying. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, wrestling needs to have controversy. I feel you need to be able to go ahead and have something to say. If you don't have something to say, then why would anybody care? You can't be playing with kid gloves. I mean, we still need to have a show that's appropriate for all ages, but you need to have some controversy. Otherwise, you don't have a show. I mean, it goes for any show. I mean, whether you're going to watch anything on Netflix, there's a controversy for everything, and you just need to be able to have that because it gives you interest in watching it.
Yep, creates cash. Controversy
Exactly.
equals cash. Yep.
Yeah, it's television. We're making television, and so that's the way. I mean, the most controversial television you could argue would be broadcast news. And the things that my story today was about a former city manager of a small town who. Before he was a city manager and he was a teacher at a high school, he had sexually assaulted two girls.
Yeah.
For a period of days, and he went to jail, and then he got out, and he didn't get the full punishment that was the judge agreed to. And so that was my story today. And so if you're sitting at home with your 8-year-old on your lap and you're eating dinner at 5 o'clock, you're hearing me talk about this sexual assault case. And that's way worse than anything you would see on any professional wrestling program.
I know. I was like, just eat dinner at 6:05 and watch Power like I do.
It's a much better way, a much safer and cleaner environment for your kid. I'd much rather watch, Thunder Rosa, go toe to toe with ODB and these two women slug it out than to hear all these horrible things, Iran and missiles and sexual assaults. Do you know the next disease that's coming to kill you? And it's like, oh man. So
we have a recall on all this
exactly.
food. Stay tuned.
Something in your salad might be killing you. More on that at 11. It's like, I'm eating my salad now.
Oh, man, that's funny. Will we see you and Nick Aldis sit down and go at it again? Because he really does not like you, does he?
We have an understanding. In a very professional relationship between the two of us. I am not done with Nick Aldis. We will be sitting down and I will be talking and I'll be asking more of those big stack of questions. He did not answer nearly any of them.
I don't think he answered any questions.
He did not. He went on his own tangent. There's a lot to be said, and look, he's the champ. And, he's the champ for a reason. He's been a champ. I think with his 2 combined reigns, it's got to be 700 days at this point. And so that's more than 2 years. And there are some great talents out there that if they had the opportunity, they could get a shot and maybe take the 10 pounds of gold away from him. But, he's going to fight with everything that he's got. And I'm going to keep talking to him, and I'm going to keep prying into Strictly Business to figure out exactly what business that is and to see what's going to be happening with the upper echelon of NWA and the NWA Power cast. So, yeah, there's going to be more instances where I'm going to be talking with Nick Aldis for sure. Good. Probably not Camille, but Nick Aldis for sure.
Oh,
I feel like that ship has sailed.
Yeah, she ain't going to say anything.
No.
Can't get any words out of her.
No, that's
yeah, it's a lost cause.
I've tried, and I'll keep trying, but I'm not making any promises at this point.
Well, she's no longer in insurance policies. She's now part of the team. So
she's part of the team, and if part of that team's directive is to not have any communication with me, then that's the way it is. And I'll just have to talk to the people that are around her, and I'll do that, and you'll probably see that in our next episode where I talk to some other members of Strictly Business to try to get to the bottom of some things, and you'll see that in some upcoming episodes.
Yes, I can't wait because those were great. All right, I'm gonna hit you with a couple more, and then I'm gonna let you go. I know you're not feeling well. No, geez, it's almost already been an hour.
The more I have, the better I feel.
Yeah, right. Do you train or want to train in karate?
In karate?
Oh yeah, sorry. Karate.
No, I don't train in Mongrovian karate. I don't think I have the iron will that it takes to learn that discipline, or to become a third degree black belt in the way that Aaron Stevens has. But in all honesty, I have within the past year been really dedicated in learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. There's a great school/training center out here in San Antonio, Texas, called Pinnacle. And I started going to there just because it was like, I'm so sick of just going to the gym to work out and I want to do something fun.
Right.
And I'm one of those guys with like, once I've it was sort of the same way with pro wrestling. Once I went to that first class, I was kind of hooked. It's been that same way with BJJ and Muay Thai. So aside from the fact that I've been horribly sick the last few weeks, it's just been a mess, with this whole holiday season for me. But that being said, tomorrow there's a BJJ tournament that I could participate in. I probably won't. But I'll be there to support my the other people that train there, and I'll probably shoot a lot of video for them and so that they can get that sort of stuff. So it's been interesting, the fact that I've never thought I'd be involved in mixed martial arts, and but I really like it, and I think it's also helping me be a better commentator.
Right.
Because there are certain things that you learn doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that a lot of our wrestlers use. Thunder Rosa being one, Allison Kay being another. They go and they take a lot of those skills from cage fighting and bring them into the ring. And me going and training and being in that universe gives me a whole different lexicon and a way of communicating, to where I can take that language and then put it into the squared circle dynamic for it. So I think that it's been really beneficial. I made a lot of good friends. I've only made like 2 people tap my entire Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu career. And one time it was, and you know what? And one time I actually locked a guy in the $1 Million Dream.
Oh, there you
It
go.
was completely by accident, and I had him in there, and I was like, oh shit, this is the $1 Million Dream. And then he tapped out, and I was like, oh my God, I totally did that. And it was like, I'm like, maybe I should retire now.
Now,
The one little tiny stripe I have on my belt.
Is it true that Ted DiBiase stole that move from the $1 Million Dream?
It wouldn't surprise me if that is part of the lore that Aaron Stevens is telling people, because I've heard lots of things about the Mongrovian clutch.
Yeah, the Mongrovian clutch.
I've heard lots of stories about that. I think a lot of them are not confirmed. I think the problem with Monrovia in the state that it is in, I don't believe they have a thriving press and library system there. So I don't know exactly how the history system is all set up in there. But boy, the question mark is quite a patriot, wearing that question mark on his head, which just happens to be the center of the Mongrovian flag. It almost, if you think about it, it makes the question mark basically Captain America or Monrovia.
I was gonna say,
maybe we should get him a giant shield that'll bounce off of things.
Oh, don't say that. Jeez. I typed in Monrovia into my GPS. It didn't turn up. Just big question mark on my phone.
Yeah, I don't think we're worthy enough to drive there.
No.
I think that's the problem, and I'd go there, but I only fly Southwest, and they don't have any flights. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to switch things up.
Can't get you there. Oh man, you brought up Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa, and it just made me think we didn't even discuss NWA Girl Power.
Oh, that's a sin.
Right, I know. It's a big sin. I mean,
yeah.
Huge sin. So
you
want to touch on that?
Oh, I do. Our women's division is arguably one of the strongest parts of our show, and I hear it from a lot of places that they appreciate what we're doing with the women on our show, and they feel bad about women on other shows, and I feel like they really deserve a spot to shine. And boy, they've decided to really take that spotlight. I mean, we could say the women's match is here and this is the promo here. They're like, no, we want people to remember the Thunder Rosa match or the Marty Bell match or the AK-47 match. They take a lot of ownership of that stuff, and we have an amazing, talented group of women, and that's only going to grow. I think it's really, we've attracted. You haven't seen any stuff from the Circle Squared yet. But we have had some Circle Squared stuff that we've already recorded, and a lot of it is female talent. And they are coming from thousands of miles away to be a part of the NWA power, and that is not hyperbole. I mean, they are traveling continents to get and be a part of this program, and so it's only going to get better. Girl power, and these interviews that we're doing with these women, and the way that these women are not only inspiring a lot of young women out there, but they're also raising money for charity. If you're taking a look at what Marty Bell and Allison Kay are doing up in Detroit, and the money that they're raising for a whole bunch of good causes out there. I mean, follow them on social media, and they'll have all the details for everything there. And it's fantastic. And on top of that, I mean, I feel like every once in a while I'll skim the dirt sheets. And I mean that with all, due respect to all the folks that write on those. We have a lot of good friends that write on those particular programs. They love our women's division, and there's a reason for that. It's so good, and it's an absolute pleasure. I know these matches are going to be barn burners every time I get to sit out there, and it immediately gets my attention. And especially when we've just added in ODB and the ladies that you're going to see coming, and when you really start to see, when you finally get Melina going and beating up somebody one-on-one or something like that, or trying to go after Allison Kay's title, it's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The women's division in the NWA is great. I'm a father of three daughters. Two of these daughters are old enough. They watch wrestling. They're into it. They love characters. They like practicing the moves on the couch. So I'm so happy to have this to show them. As long as in other promotions, they do a good job. Some do, some
Right,
don't. But I
right,
really enjoy the fact that they can see a Thunder Rosa. They can see Allison Kay, an ODB, a Malay, all of them. So
right.
I would have been, my daughter would have yelled at me if I didn't talk about, my daughter would definitely yell at me if I didn't talk about Thunder Rosa, because she wants to go as Thunder Rosa for Halloween. So,
Oh, that's so cute. I'm going to have to tell her that. That's so cute.
she's so pumped about that.
Yeah. So strange that I actually, it turns out, I live in San Antonio, Texas, and
Yeah.
that's where she's based out of. And she does a lot of she actually trains at a competing Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym, which is actually fantastic where they go. Their whole setup there is fantastic, though. But I mean, she's really taken the world by storm. And I think that this is just she's been on plenty of other promotions out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves out there. It's not like she debuted and all of a sudden she came out of nowhere. Here's Thunder Rosa. It's like, no, no, no. She's been around for a long time. But I think all of that experience in all these different places has really super exploded and propelled her to this particular environment. And that's why she's been able to just capture the hearts and minds of so many of the fans that are there. And, she sets up a merch table at our tapings, and that stuff goes. Like, she arrives with a full suitcase and she has plenty of room when she flies back, and that just shows how much people love her. I mean, and she's hard not to love. I mean, if anyone out there, forget following me on social media. It's usually a lot of sad news, as opposed to the bad news of Stu Bennett. But if you're not following Thunder Rosa on Instagram and looking at her stories every day, you're missing out. Because she just to be able to see like her legitimate life and her family and her dog and all the places. And actually, right now she's in Japan. So, all the fun that she's having. I think I was watching her story today, and she's in Japan, and she went to this sumo wrestling match, and that was preceded by like this very elegant dinner with a bunch of Japanese businessmen and Thunder Rosa. It's like, okay. So I go ahead and follow her on all the social media because it's
I
fantastic.
think she's Thunder Rosa 22 on Twitter. I don't know
Yep.
her Instagram. She has a
You
YouTube.
search Thunder Rosa, you'll pop it up. She's
Yeah,
got the official check mark and all that sort of deal. You'll find her.
she is great. I've DM'd her before. I've talked to her. Um, we're trying to set a date for her to be on here as well, but then she took off for Japan. But that's okay because she won a title, so it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, oh no. spoiler. Spoiler alert.
No, that title in Japan.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So,
Anyways, one last question, and then I'm gonna hand you the mic, and then you can put over whatever you want. You can plug whatever you want. But my final question for you, Joe, on this. This has been a great interview. At least I've enjoyed myself. Um, do you know the Mongrovian national anthem?
No.
No. Are there lyrics?
I don't.
Are there words to it?
There are in the beautiful tongue of Mongrovian, which is such an interesting dialect because, we're so used to languages that are based in Latin and other Romantic languages, your Spanishes, your French, and all this other sort of stuff. But Mongrovian is so ancient, it predates all of that. And to hear it, I mean, it really warmed my heart to hear that Mongrovian national anthem. And it's one of those things as Americans. I feel like we don't really get to hear any other national anthems. With the exception of maybe the Canadian one, if you're a hockey fan, or you have to wait every 2 years for the Olympics and things to go around and that sort of thing. So, I mean, it was really a pleasure to hear the Mongrovian national anthem. And I don't know if it's on Rosetta Stone yet, but as soon as it is, I'll be paying that $180 a month or however much it is, so that I can at least be fluent enough to talk to the karate master. If not, I'll just have to go through Aaron Stevens like I have been.
No, that's fun.
It is, and Aaron Stevens, is wacky of a guy as you might think he is. I mean, the guy's legit and he can fight and he's entertaining and he's our national champion. Excuse me, third degree national.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyways, Joe, this is usually at the end of these shows. I give the mic to my guest, and you can put over whatever you want. You can plug whatever you want. You can let us know what's coming on, what you got going. So,
well, so we're broadcasting live on your thing right now, right? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
And well, if there are any folks that are watching or listening or watching right now, you have less than 4 hours to still get
that's right.
hard.
I got a link for that
That's
too.
Right. Well, please follow that link. It's or you could just go on Fight TV. Every time I put the app on, it's the first thing that pops up. It's like a little pop-up ad. Pre-order Hard Times at a reduced rate that ends at midnight. So you're going to want to get it anyways, especially if you are listening to this podcast. You're already invested. So save a few bucks. Pre-order it right now. I'd appreciate it. All the folks over at the NWA would appreciate it. As always, just tune into NWA Power every Tuesday, 6:05 on YouTube. Just search the National Wrestling Alliance or NWA. Everything pops up. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm at Joe Galli News. So it's JoeGallinews. I've got a verified Facebook page too. So you type in my name, it all pops up. And just keep watching and enjoying what we have. And I'm really looking forward to Hard Times, and I know all our fans are too.
Awesome. Well done, Joe. Thanks a lot for being here. Hope you feel better, and I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thank you, man. Have a good one. Mahalo.
Yeah, you too. I thought it was a great interview. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, first of all, about Joe personally. He was very personable. I didn't know he was wrestling, and it was funny. He's like Cornette would never like me because I was like a independent Joey Ryan. It was great. He handled himself extremely well, and he had a nice drink. We had a nice time at the bar. He did it. He did exactly. He was perfect.